If you've ever had a Christian tell you that God won't give you more than you can handle, I am really sorry. That's not a thing, not in the Bible. Hi, I'm Jeremy. I'm a deep skeptic, also a pastor. That's also not something that I think is very helpful at all. It's not helpful or true for multiple reasons. The first reason is that it acts like God does everything. And this idea of God as some sort of divine puppet master is in no way helpful to me. And I don't really think it's Christian. Like the idea that God just made my hand go up and just put my hand down, like not helpful at all. So you got to reject it just by the fact that it says God gives you everything, just not. But the way I see it, maybe the most unhelpful thing is this idea that life can somehow exist in a state where people don't receive more than they can handle, because that's not a thing. Like sometimes there are life circumstances that you are dealt that you can't control, or there's a medical diagnosis that you get that you can't control, or there is a psychological diagnosis that you can't control. And people get to the place where they can't deal with those things. They get to the place where those are more than they can bear and they die from them. That's the reality of life. Now, there is this passage in 1 Corinthians that says, like, no temptation that has seized you except that which is common to humanity. And when you're tempted, God will provide a way out. And that is talking about temptation. It's talking about, like, choosing to do something that you know you shouldn't do, right? We know what that is. We know what that is because people do that all the time. Everybody does things that they know they shouldn't do. But that's different than like a medical diagnosis. That's different than psychological diagnosis, right? That's a different thing. And what that actual passage is talking about is it's saying that you have a choice, that you can choose to do the right thing or you can choose to do the wrong thing. It's talking about free choice. It's actually talking about the opposite of the beginning problem, right? That God directs everything like the divine puppet maker. And so I think it's kind of bad news in one way because sometimes life is more than people can handle, more than we can bear. But there is something else that is good and is hopeful in the Bible. It's something that repeats itself over and over again. My favorite place, though, is in the end of the Exodus story. So the end of the Exodus story, if you remember, Moses frees the people from slavery, leads them through the wilderness for 40 years towards the promised land. They're right on the edge of the promised land. Moses and his right-hand person, Joshua, go up on this mountain, and God says, this is the end for Moses. Moses has to stay on this side of the promised land. Moses is going to die here. Joshua, you're going to have to lead the people. You're going to have to lead them out into the promised land. And then God says to Joshua, as I was with Moses, so I will be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. And that is a really important thing. It says that we are never alone. Even when life is more than we can handle, even when you're dealt those life events, even when you have the medical diagnosis or the psychological diagnosis, you aren't alone. You aren't alone.